Good morning, friends. It is Wednesday, February 25th. I'm Brenda Stir. Welcome back to the suite. And we are this morning talking again wild abundance with one of our guest authors. As you may know, if you've been watching this series, Wild Abundance was the bookend to 2 years of trauma in my own life. And I wanted a way to officially close the chapter, but find a way to turn it into something positive and inspiring and something that could be inspirational and motivational for other people. Because after my mother died, breast cancer, double mastectomy, became the caregiver for my father, closed most of my business, kind of burned it all down, and then rebuilt it all. There's a story there. So that's told in the book, but I also wanted to invite other women. There's 17 of my friends and colleagues here on the cover to share their stories of how they also stepped into an I Get To life, how they went through their own fire and came out stronger on the other side. And today our guest is, where is she on the cover? Where is she on the cover? Right here in the bottom center in the purple. Did she not get the memo that it was Team Pink? I don't know. Anyway, right here, this is our friend Yvette LeFlore. I've known Yvette for a long time, long preceding this book. We're going to talk about that story, and we're going to hear how her story is one of grief, happiness, all wrapped up at once. How do we find that love? How did she find her own I Get To moment? So please join me in welcoming Yvette LeFlore. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I have known you a long time.
You have. It's probably been 10 years.
At least 10.
I've known you longer than I knew Walter.
Wow. Well, that's a gold star that's a weird gold star to claim today. That is a weird gold star to claim today. Okay, so tell everybody how we met, to give a little bit of background. Who
So
are you
we met
before the book?
oh gosh, yeah. So a long, long time ago,
Yeah.
a land far, far away.
The land far, far away.
You had and I can't even remember all of the names of your
I know.
incarnation.
I can't either. It's okay.
So you had a free Facebook group, and I don't even know how I found you, but I sold Pamper Chef for 29 years. And so I was in the direct sale industry. And you taught social media. You were teaching the ins and outs back then.
I did.
And so I followed you through all of your cycles.
All of my iterations of what am
Yes.
I going to do now?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I
And one
remember.
thing
Yeah.
that you don't know, there's lots that you don't know, but I will tell you that you were a name around our dinner table. I would talk to Walter about Brenda.
Really?
Mhm. Mhm.
Wow. Hopefully, mostly. So I not only do I predate him, he knows who I was. Okay.
But no, I would talk about just how I so appreciated the way you built your business. And I watched the intricacies of it. And I would share with him about that and the things that I was learning and how I was bringing it into my business. And I would say, and Brenda said, and Brenda said.
And Brenda said. Funny, I hear that. Like, well,
Yep.
okay.
Like the kindergarten teacher when I was younger, my mother would say, you'd say,
you were a kindergarten teacher?
No, I would come home and say, well, my teacher said,
Oh, got it. Okay. You came home and said your teacher said. Got it. Okay.
No, I used to teach, but not in kindergarten.
What did you used to teach?
I used to teach in prisons and drug rehabs.
Well, that's a story for a different day.
It is.
How interesting is that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I have
You
a background.
You have a colorful life. Oh my goodness. Okay. So let's come. So you're not doing Pamper Chef anymore. You closed that a couple years ago. What are you doing now?
So I'm an intuitive energy healer, a Reiki master teacher, and a grief recovery method specialist. So I help people where they are get to where they want to be.
Okay. Now, so how much of that, well, actually, I'm going to save that question for after.
Okay.
For the other side. Now tell us the Walter story. Tell us the story. Give us a glimpse into what story you told here. You are chapter 11, page 117, right here. I get to make friends with grief. Okay. And actually, before you tell your story, for anyone who doesn't already know how we set this up, I wrote chapter 1 and I sent chapter 1 to all of the collaborators. And I said, I want you to read chapter 1 and use it as an anchor to write any story that you want, any story of your own I get to, any story that somebody would resonate and say, okay, I kind of see how the thread ties through here. How did you come to the story that you wrote about?
So before I tell the story, I want to say that number 11 is an angel number about the connection spirit world to earthly world, just so you know. And on 117, my story's on 117, which adds up to a 9, which is the number 9 is about the ending of a cycle.
Are you telling me that I subconsciously put you into the right energy space in this book?
That, and I don't believe in accidents around this stuff. I think that it's the universal message just all coming together. So my story is, so I was married to Walter. He was the love of my life. We met later in life, and
your meeting story is very, very endearing and very sweet. You tell it in the book.
And so we met, and we had been together for, oh gosh, seven years at the time. And there was an evening where we were watching the news, and he was watching the news. I was sitting with him because if I wanted to spend time with him in the evening, that's what I had to do, was bear the news. Watching his favorite news person, and he looked over at me and said, "The doctor called. I have cancer." So he had been sitting on that for about 7 hours. He had known for 7 hours, and it took him that amount of time to tell me. We knew something was up, but we weren't sure what. And so it was in that moment that I knew, and I said to him, "You're going to have your journey, I'll have mine, and we will have ours." So we did. So he was diagnosed in October of 2022, and he died and transitioned. I say transitioned into spirit realm in August of 2024. So it was during that time that I got the opportunity to be his care partner at first, because he was still healthy on the outside, looked healthy, and it moved into caretaking towards at the end. So I had that whole journey of walking beside him and alongside him and with him for his health journey, but also for mine. Like, I knew that ultimately it would change who I am in this world to walk that path. And in walking it, what happened was I knew I needed support, and I asked for support, and I reached out for support. I talked to his oncologist about it. I talked to people that I knew were social workers. I talked to friends, and no one had a group or anything available for those who are in what's called anticipatory grief. Mm-hmm. Anticipatory grief is when you know, like, you're in the midst of knowing something is changing, and you're losing in that moment, you're losing something that you had. And I knew that I was losing my husband. I knew that he was dying before my very eyes. And I wanted help. And he and I had this conversation at the dinner table. Like, there's nothing for me. There's all this stuff for you, but there's nothing for me. And I need support. I want support. And he said, "Well, maybe you should start a group." And I'm like, no, I don't want to be the one holding the space for everybody else. I want someone who's going to hold space for me. And so what I wound up doing was starting to share my journey as the wife as the caretaker, as the
Mhm.
partner. That was after he literally gave permission for me to share, because for the longest time, he did not even want anyone to know that he had cancer. He wasn't able to process that people could tell something was wrong because he was losing weight. He had started cognitively to have challenges, but he didn't want people to know, which was another struggle, right?
Right.
In being with him, because he didn't want people to know. And I'm somebody who talks about stuff, right? That's how I process. So
Mhm.
what I took to once I had permission was sharing my story, sharing the story of somebody who's walking alongside someone who is actively dying. Uh, well, technically, actively dying is just a few days prior, but
I know what you mean. It's okay. We don't
um,
need to be literal. It's okay.
thank you. So, in that process, though, what I took the opportunity to do was to create a relationship with grief. Rather than seeing it as an enemy and being angry about it, I said, okay, let's do this. You and I, we're going to dance together. We are going to be partners because I know that you are with me now. Like, I can't get rid of you. You're joined at the hip. So I'm going to get to know you. I'm going to embrace you. I am going to you flow when you need to flow. I'm going to feel the anger. I'm going to feel the rage. I'm going to feel the sadness. I'm going to feel all of it. I'm going to make friends with you. And for some, they're like, make friends. No, I do not want to make friends with grief. I don't even want it. And that's how most people in our society teach it. Like, maybe if I bury it under a rug, I won't even have to deal with it. And what happens when we don't deal with it is it emerges in another way. And it literally creates dis-ease in the body when we
Mhm.
don't process grief.
Yeah.
And so in the story, I talked about how I get to make friends with grief. And although, it may be like the friend that you get to know so that you can be aware of that friend. I'm not, we're not besties. We're just,
Yes.
I'm
We're
just,
uneasy. We're uneasy
yeah,
frenemies.
yeah, yeah. But I found it really important. And I know that every time that grief visits, because it visits, we were talking before we started about this season of Bridgerton.
Mhm.
And there's a moment where Violet is talking about getting involved with a relationship again after being widowed for so long, or being without a husband or a partner. And
Mhm.
I cried during that episode because I got that. I could feel
Yeah.
it.
And the acting was so good.
Yes. Oh,
She wore every emotion. You could see her face changing in the moment of processing. I can still love my husband and my children, but I can still want something more, and I'm still alive, and I can still feel it was all happening. That scene was like Emmy worthy.
yes. So
She
good.
should be nominated for something because that scene was so phenomenal
Yes.
with Lord Anderson. If you're not a Bridgerton person, pardon us for 30 seconds because oh my god, this season is good. This season of Bridgerton is I was binging it last night and it's very very good.
And I can't wait to talk to you after you watch the episode 4.
That's today. I'll message you tonight after I watch episode 4 and then the new part 2 comes out tomorrow. Anyway,
Yes.
total sidebar on Bridgerton.
Okay.
So
But
but no, I understand your point because
yeah. And so part of the get to was living in the both and, right? Living in the joy of the moments of joy that we were able to create, knowing what was coming,
Mhm.
and the grief.
Right.
And then allowing, and because I was allowed my grief, I was able to allow him to be the strong one. at times, like to literally hold me in my grief.
Mhm.
I didn't hold back from that. I allowed it to happen, which is something that oftentimes people don't want to burden their loved one with the grief because they're the ones with the illness, right?
Right.
But I was like, no, he needed to feel like he was strong,
Mhm.
and I needed to have that strength. And so there were so many, I feel like I live from and I get to life. I was thinking about it this morning um, as I was brushing my teeth about paying bills and how saying like I get to pay my bills, right?
Mhm.
There's something powerful in living in that get to space
Mhm.
of gratitude.
Mhm. Yeah. Your story, there's a handful of stories. There's 18 stories in the book, including mine. And yours is one that's quite sad. At the end of the day, your spouse, your partner, your soulmate, your loved one, your husband dies.
Hmm.
I don't think we're giving away the ending here,
No,
right? This is not the surprise.
no.
There are a couple stories that are very, very heart wrenching. And reading them, you're like, oh my God, this is really, really sad. At the end of the day, it's very sad. And, but you've been able to find the gratitude and the joy in that. And I think the way that you've woven together, knowing it was coming, exactly the story you just shared just now of having him be strong, finding joy together is extremely relatable. That's what I want to get to the relatability factor of it all. So, what do you hope someone take? How is your chapter in your opinion? Your story is obviously your own, very personal,
Yeah,
but how and no one's going to live your exact lived experience.
no.
But what do you think is really universally relatable about your story?
Grief.
What would someone take away from it and be like, you know what? A lot of people have anticipatory grief.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. We all experience grief, and it's not. It doesn't have to be through death. It can be through relationship breakup, loss of a job, empty nest. We all have grief. My hope is that when someone reads my story, yes, it's the I can get where it wrenches at the heart because my husband dies, right? But what I want people to walk away with is owning and processing and allowing for grief. Because I promise you, when you process and allow for it, joy is on the other side. And you can be in grief and joy simultaneously.
that's the part that's hard to wrap your head around,
Yes.
especially if you're still deep, deep in grief. That
Yes.
trying to find the fact that you can be joyful and in gratitude at the same time.
And not feel guilty for it.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that led you to what you're doing now, grief
Yeah.
recovery
Mhm.
coaching, grief recovery. And how do you tell us a little bit about what that means? What is that process and how does that work? What exactly is that?
So there's the grief recovery method is a technique that I walk through. I partner with someone and walk through, and we take a look at what is the grief that you're processing, and you go through a series of steps to take it from story to healing. And I do that one on one or in small groups. There are two options for people. And I also work with people with their own energy. So there's two different parts of what I do, and then they can merge together. It all depends
Yeah.
on what someone's interested in, because I get that the woo of energy work is not for everybody.
Oh, I'm deep. I love the woo. You know
I
I
know
do.
you do.
No,
I know
I'm all
you
about a good woo.
Well, hey, you put me on in chapter 11 on page
At
117.
117, apparently that was the woo, and that was well. And let me explain how the book is structured for those who don't have it. There's three parts to the book. There's and let me find it. There is part one is self. Okay. Part 2 is, let me find it. Well, criminy, you're chapter 11. You're in part 2, which is family.
Mm-hmm.
And part 3 is, well, I don't know where it is. It's somewhere. I wasn't organized. I wasn't prepared for this one.
Didn't know
Part
you were
3 is
going
impact. And I don't know where impact starts. But I organized the book into 3 sections: self, family, and impact. Because how to live and I get to life, there's 3 balls that we're all balancing all the time. We're balancing ourselves, our own mental health, physical health, our spiritual self, our family, our inner circle, our core. How do we keep our family in balance? And then the impact we're making in the world. And whether that's through work or philanthropy or whatever, the stories are, how do you make an impact in the lives of the people you serve? So you're in the family section. So you fit in that middle section, but the energy and the spirit world was clearly like, well, she needs to be chapter 11 and page 117. Okay. Good Lord, Yvette, I swear. This is the kind of stuff that I sit back and go, oh, can I tell you a story?
Yeah, please do.
Oh my gosh, totally unrelated to anything we're talking about right now, but you will totally like it because it's very woo. So the other night, I was laying in bed as I want to do in the middle of the night, scrolling TikTok, and I came across somebody who said every night she prays to Gus, God, universe, and spirit. And I was like, I don't like Gus, but let me come up with my own. This was like maybe a week or 2 ago. And so I came up with guides: God's, universe, infinity, divine, eternal, spirits. So guides.
Like that.
Oh, I know. So Gus was like, that feels like the guy who like changes my oil in my car. That's weird. But guys, I could wrap my head around. So anyway,
it just reminded me of like one of my first crushes. Thank you.
Was his name Gus? Seriously? Anyway, sidebar. Anyway, so that was the another little piece of woo, like saying that my guides, I'm open, God's, universe, infinity, divine,
eternal spirits.
Eternal and spirits. So anyway, there you go. Little piece of woo for today. What does an I get to life mean for you today? How does, with 3 years of, almost coming up on 3 years this summer, 2 years. 2 years.
2 years.
How many years out are we?
Yeah, it'd be 2 years. I'm like 3. Did 3 happen already?
No. Sorry, that was my mistake. 2 years.
Oh, 2 years.
How do you find your grief and your gratitude changing? How do you find it evolving as you're getting further away from the date of his passing?
Yeah. So I had heard, the story was that year 2 was more difficult.
That's what my father said too, because he went to grief share after my mother died. Year 2 was harder.
Yeah, it is. It has been for me, because, for example, year 1, Thanksgiving, I did a Friendsgiving. I had, like 35 people in my house, just like, and the Christmas, my family came, like there was an understanding that it was a year of firsts.
Yeah. Year 1, everyone props you up.
Yes.
Year 2, they go back to their lives.
Exactly. Which is understandable. And what I can say to that is, if you have a loved one in your life that is going through a year 2, pay attention to that. Just be aware of that. So my grief has changed. It's been a peeling of the layers. Like, not even, the more I allow for the grief, the more I realize that there's, and this is my work, right? Not everybody wants to do this work, but I realize that there's grief I never processed. And so I get to release that grief. And every time I do, it's almost like an elevation of my energy and who I am and who I get to be and the light that I get to shine in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, was your question, how has it changed? I it has been it's wild because in the beginning I thought I had what it took to support people. And when I look back, I'm like, oh, I really had stuff to learn. And so now I feel like I have what it takes to support people. And probably in a year from now, I'll go like, oh, you still had so much more to learn.
It's okay. But that's one of the big things that when the way that I find gratitude, the way that I describe it is if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have this.
Correct.
Right? I can wish that had never happened. But if I can wish that it had been different, I can wish that I hadn't had surgery, I hadn't had cancer, my partner hadn't died. I can wish something hadn't happened, but I can also say, you know what? It happened, and that because that happened, I now have this thing that I'm grateful for, that I'm glad I get to hold space for,
Yep.
that I get to do. That this book wouldn't have happened if I hadn't had cancer.
Right.
Right? If my mother hadn't, that whole February 2024 month with my life literally burned down all at one time, and everything happened at once. And I was standing in this pile of rubble going, I can barely put two words together and put one foot in front of the other. And between doctor appointments and grief, and my mother was a hoarder and cleaning out her house, and my father and taking care of it was a disaster. And climbing out of that, oh my God, it was awful.
Yeah.
But I am so glad for what I have now.
Yep.
That is the gratitude of I get to.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, what a lot of people struggle with. They feel bad saying, I'm so glad for what I have now, because it almost diminishes that it makes it feel like you're glad that this thing happened. That's not it at all. You're not glad this thing happened.
No, but the other thing I want people to know is your relationship with your loved one doesn't need to end just because they've left the physical realm.
Right.
Yeah, that was a conversation Walter and I had before his physical death, was that we would work together when he transitioned. So he's a partner with me in the work that I do. He comes through when I do my energy healing sessions. Like, I'll see him in the room, I'll feel his hands, and other people are aware of him. So we had a conversation about this partnership that we would have. And that's actually available to everyone if you want it.
That's wild. Isn't that crazy? Wild. So, yeah, everybody, if you're watching, whether you're watching live or catching the replay, Wild Abundance is on Amazon. Yvette is gorgeously right here on the bottom in purple. And her story.
Better than pink.
Team Pink. Team Pink. Whatever. She's chapter 11. I get to break friends with grief. Yvette, where can people find you? What's the best place to reach you if they resonated with your story, they want to talk to you, they want to learn more, they want to work with you? What's the best place to find you?
Healing with Yvette.
Healingwithyvette.com, or just Healing with Yvette on Facebook, or everywhere, or
healingwithyvette.com. I do have a Facebook page, Healing with Yvette, but you can find me under Yvette Yeomans as well for my personal page. My YouTube is Healing with Yvette. My Instagram is Healing with Yvette. The best place, if you would like to set aside a time to chat, talk to me a little bit more about what it is that I offer, or just like discover some stuff for yourself, you can go to my website and book a discovery call.
Even better. All right. Fantastic.
But I do want to say the Healing with Yvette was purposely chosen as a business name because I'm healing alongside everyone else that I work with.
Ah, let's go heal together.
Yes.
That's it. That's exactly right. I love it. You guys, if you haven't grabbed, we broke 100. We're at 103 books sold on Amazon. My mission, my goal is that more people get to step into their I get to life. No matter what life has thrown at you, you don't have to be. No, none of us are living a perfect life in any way, shape, or form. But it's being grateful for the life we have. It's being waking up and saying, oh my gosh, I get to serve my people, serve myself, serve my community, take care of myself, find my joy, live with some gratitude for the life I have the privilege to live. And maybe there's some woo in there. Maybe it's very tactical, but however you get there, when you start changing the language of how you talk to yourself, I have to versus I get to, it will change how your energy moves. It will change how you think about yourself and the privilege of the things you get to do. And I hope more people find that. I hope really do. So, absolutely. Yvette, thank you for hanging out with me this morning. It's been a joy and a pleasure and a privilege as always. And friends, if you want to go find Yvette online, she's healingwithyvette.com and continue the conversation with her. All right, guys, have a great Wednesday. I'll see you soon. Bye, friends.
Bye.